Hey, this is Ali Akbar with Vice and Victory Agency, and I just want to speak for a minute or two about the effectiveness of the ad Has President Obama Earned Your Vote? It was made by Americans for Prosperity, a group that, in full disclosure, I've worked with time and time again, and very proud of the work that they're doing. But purely on a professional basis, from reviewing the ad, this was a remarkably, a stark ad when you take that it was released, a month and a half, 2 months ago. It was cutting directly reaching independents. The ad features a woman of color who's either biracial or African American, maybe even a Latina. It's very hard to distinguish an older or middle aged white woman and an older gentleman that is also Caucasian. And what was so effective about this ad is again that it was reaching out to independents and it was reaching out to them early and it was reaching out to them in the language that they understand. So I thought this ad was tremendously effective. A few points that I'm going to go off memory from was it was very encouraging. The whole ad, while it was speaking to a serious matter, and it was speaking to one that someone might say that this is a negative ad against the president. It was a positive ad in the terms of the people, and that's where the votes rest. And so you have the the woman of color, for example. She ponders for a moment. She looks up and thoughtfully decides that the referendum is actually on President Obama, that we actually do elect presidents in 4 year stints. And so that he hasn't earned the vote again, something that's unique to democracies and republics such as ours is the president's not guaranteed 2 terms. And so she asked the question, about a third of the way into the ad is has he earned your ad, or for her it was he hasn't earned my vote. And I thought that was extremely compelling, especially for female voters. They're very, they think very, emotionally, and this is just, basic marketing that we already understand. The white female, she's, middle aged, looks like she's in her early 50s, late 40s, and she said that, I still believe in hope and change. This isn't it. And I thought that was tremendously key, and they were cognizant. The people who made this ad were cognizant of the fact that they have to win 50% plus one. At least obviously it's an electoral map that they're hoping to reach, but you've got to inherently reach a majority of the population, and the majority of the population, 53% of the population voted for President Barack Obama, and so these are people who the message of hope and change did appeal to. And so you can't dismiss their ideas, you can't redefine it. And what was brilliant about this ad was that they took that definition, they stuck with it, but they said he didn't fulfill his own promises, his own obligation. And this is something that's felt across Latino the union communities that was promised card check. President Barack Obama spent a lot of time with health care, and a lot of his constituencies are upset that they didn't get the bill or the legislation or the promises that they were intended. So this was an effective way of peeling off people. And then lastly, the ad ends with the older white gentleman, and he makes the third appearance inside of the ad. So in a lot of ways, this is the closing argument, and he appeals that what he's actually a little ashamed of his vote in 2008 because that vote did nothing to help our national debt, and they didn't see they're invoking national debt without actually saying it, and so they're not using wonky words, they're not using Washington words. He's talking about his grandchildren. And that's something that's tremendously powerful, that reaches across demographics, independents, Republicans, and touches a lot of Democrats, especially in these rural blue dog districts that heavily went for Republicans inside of the 2010 midterms. So, this ad was very effective. 2 months ago, a month and a half ago when it was released, I was on their distribution list, and I thought, wow, this is the only ad talking to independents right now. Now you have several other conservative groups that are specifically talking to independents. Americans Crossroads is targeting independents in some of these states with their ads now. Let Freedom Ring is another right-wing organization that is directly reaching out to independents. But Americans for Prosperity, with the earning of the vote, that was a referendum change, I thought, for how some of the ads were coming out of the right leaning side of some of these think tanks and action groups. And so I thought it was a tremendously effective ad. If Republicans win, if conservatives win this November 6th, it's going to be because groups chose to actively seek out independence, and they spoke to them in their language. It wasn't all fire and brimstone, but they spoke to independence in a way that appealed to their morals, their principles, and the policies that they voted for in 2008. Thanks.